Hi, I'm Don from DonDronesOn, and welcome to episode 6 of my Q&A series. This time we'll zero in on questions related to, well, I'll call it the eligibility question for drone pilots. And remember, if you have a question, drop me an email at dondroneson@gmail.com, and you may see it answered in a future video. Let's get into it. Now, before we dive into the new questions, I wanted to revisit a question and answer that came up back in episode 4 of this series. Here was the question, and to paraphrase, it asked how a person can get permission to fly at a flight review if the flight review is in controlled airspace. My answer was that the NavDrone system would not allow a flight plan to be submitted, so you had to have your flight reviewer initiate the NavDrone flight authorization for you. Now, a number of people came back and said that was not true, and that all you had to do was indicate the activity was a flight review and all would be well. So I tried it again. I did try it the first time, but here I go again, and there was no way I could submit a flight plan for a flight in controlled airspace as a pilot with basic certification, even with that flight review activity set. So I contacted NavDrone support with a clear description of the issue, and within an hour received a response. I was very impressed by the speed. Here's what they said. Hello, Don. In regards to flying in controlled airspace, there actually is not a bypass for that. Only a pilot with an advanced license may do so. So that's the official view from NavDrone. A candidate for a flight review, since they have only their basic certification at that point, cannot create a flight plan for their flight review if it's within controlled airspace. So my original answer stands. If you're in this scenario, I recommend you talk to your flight reviewer. Either move the test or have them submit the flight plan on your behalf. Okay, on to question number 1. According to the rules, children under 14 years old can fly a drone over 250 grams if they are supervised by someone with a basic or advanced certification. Is it the same for anyone over 14 years old? Can any of my friends fly my drone without a certification as long as I'm there to supervise them? This question refers to the provision for both basic and advanced operations that allows young people under 14 years old for basic and under 16 for advanced to fly drones when under the supervision of a certified pilot. In other words, you're allowed to let kids fly drones, even in controlled airspace, if a properly certified drone pilot is supervising. And surely, if a kid can fly while being supervised, then an uncertified mature adult can fly when supervised as well. I mean, it's only logical. So I read the rule 12 different times and came to the conclusion that no, adults can't be supervised according to the way this rule was written, no matter how crazy that seemed. But maybe I was just reading it wrong. So just to be sure, I reached out to a senior RPAS guy at Transport Canada, and they confirmed it. Kids can fly under supervision, but people over 14 or 16 for advanced ops cannot. That said, they also hinted that this rule was flagged for potential improvement in the future. And I would certainly hope so. It makes so sense. On to question 2. Does an American flying a Mavic Mini in Canada have to do anything different than a Canadian citizen? Simple answer, no. Anyone flying a sub 250 gram drone in Canada needs to comply with the same simple rules. The 900.06 don't do anything stupid rule, and stay away from forest fires, emergency operations, and Class F restricted zones. Foreign pilots don't have to be certified or register their drone or do an SFOC as long as the drone is under 250 grams. And I do have a video that covers a lot of related questions on this, so check that out. There's a link in the description. But let's check out question 3 as well. And this one is just one of at least one a week I receive on this subject, sometimes several times a day. Hello, Don. I am enjoying your YouTube videos way down here in Maine. I'm hoping to visit the Maritime provinces soon and was wondering, what are the rules for flying my Mavic 3 in Canada? I have my 44809 Trust certification and I'm working on my Part 107. Well, now we get into the trickier side of foreign pilot rules. If your drone is over 250 grams and you are neither a Canadian citizen nor permanent resident, then you need to apply for an SFOC, a Special Flight Operating Certificate. And you need to be certified to fly a drone in your home country as well. Now, applying for an SFOC for a foreign pilot is actually very time-consuming. It's confusing, and it involves some pretty heavy paperwork. The SFOC form itself isn't too bad, but TC will turn around and ask you to fill out what they call a compliance matrix. Honestly, I was confused by some of the questions that were on it. Here's one. Does the RPAS operator have a declaration from the manufacturer or flight authority for the RPAS? And some of the questions seem to expect an essay for an answer. So I've asked Transport Canada for clarification, and so far I have not received a good answer. So my recommendation to foreign pilots is either fly a Mini or just leave your drone at home. Now, by the way, foreign pilot SFOCs are currently free, but Transport Canada has proposed changing that to $150 a pop. Now, this last question turns the table around the other way. I have a basic pilot certificate and want to fly my DJI Mini 2 and Air 2S in the US this summer. Do I need to register my drones with the FAA, or can I fly with my basic operation certificate? I'll preface this by saying I am not an expert on American drone rules. Please do your own homework. But here's how I understand it. First of all, your basic certificate has no bearing in the US whatsoever. Now, that said, if you are flying in the States purely recreationally, then it's fairly easy. Your drone does need to be registered if it's over 250 grams. If it's under, you don't have to even register it. And registration is easily done on the FAA website. Second, you do need to pass the Trust exam, which is more of a training tool than an exam, really. In fact, you cannot fail this thing. I've got a video that talks about that. And again, there's a link in the description. So recreational flying is easy. But if you're planning on flying commercially for any form of compensation, you need to pass the Part 107 exam, which is definitely doable, but very tough. So there you go. Quite a bit different than for an American coming up here to fly. So there we have it. 3 interesting questions about flying your drone in Canada and in the US. Okay, well, that's it for today. Send your questions to me at DonDronesOn@gmail.com and you may see them answered in a future video. And be sure to become a member of the Drone Pilot Association of Canada, or DPAC. Membership is free, and there's a link, once again, in the description below this video. DPAC is an advocacy group aiming to simplify the drone rules and keep fee structures like that SFOC proposal to a minimum. Thanks for watching. Safe and happy flying.